You had a hard day, nothing catastrophic, just heavy. And somewhere between the couch and your phone, you started buying. A little something to feel better. It arrived, and the feeling faded, and you weren't even sure you wanted it. But the real reason is stranger than you think. You are not weak. You are not impulsive. You are not bad with money. Your brain reached for a very old painkiller, and that painkiller happens to cost money. And this is where neuroscience comes in. Think about the last time you felt low and opened a shopping app. You weren't hunting for anything specific. You were hunting for relief. The scrolling felt soothing. The little cart filling up felt like control. And for a few minutes, the sadness got quieter. That is not a coincidence. That is chemistry. Your brain treats emotional pain and the urge to spend as two ends of the same wire. Here is the first thing to understand. When you feel sad, a part of your brain is genuinely in distress. Sadness isn't just a mood, it's a physical state, tied to a drop in the chemicals that make you feel steady and rewarded. And your brain hates that drop, so it starts searching for anything that can lift those chemicals back up, fast. Food can do it, scrolling can do it. And spending, it turns out, does it beautifully. At the center of this is dopamine. You've heard the word, but here's what it actually does. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure. It is the chemical of wanting, of anticipation, of the chase. It spikes not when you own something, but when you're about to get it. So the moment you add an item to your cart, the moment you tap buy, your brain releases a small wave of dopamine that briefly drowns out the sadness. You didn't want the product. You wanted the wave. There's a brain region behind this called the nucleus accumbens, a small hub deep in your reward system. When researchers scan people making purchases, this region lights up in anticipation of the buy. And in people who are feeling down, that reward circuit is often running on empty, hungry for a hit. So sadness doesn't just make you want comfort. It biologically primes your brain to chase the exact dopamine spike that spending delivers. Now here's where it gets sharper. Scientists have a name for this pattern. They call it misattribution of emotion, or more plainly, emotional spending. In one well-known line of research led by psychologist Jennifer Lerner, people who were made to feel sad were willing to pay significantly more for the very same item than people in a neutral mood. Same object, same price tag in front of them. But sadness quietly pushed them to spend more, and most of them had no idea it was happening. They thought they were making a rational choice. Their emotions were making it for them. Why would your brain do this? Because sadness carries a hidden message. Deep in your wiring, sadness often signals loss or lack, something missing, and your brain's ancient response to lack is to acquire, to take in, to fill the gap. Thousands of years ago, that instinct helped you gather resources when you felt vulnerable. Today, that same instinct fires when you feel empty inside, and it points you straight at the checkout button. The gap is emotional, but your brain tries to fill it with objects. Let's talk about the part of you that should stop this. Your prefrontal cortex, the region right behind your forehead, is your planner and your brake. It's the part that says, you don't need this, put the phone down. But here's the problem. Sadness and stress quietly weaken the prefrontal cortex. When you're emotionally drained, that rational brake loses power, while the emotional reward system grows louder. So exactly when you most need self-control, your brain turns it down. This is not a character flaw. It is a temporary shift in which part of your brain is holding the microphone. And there's a cruel loop hidden inside all of this. The relief from emotional spending is real, but it is brief. The dopamine wave crashes. The item arrives and feels like nothing. And often, a new emotion moves in to replace the sadness, guilt. Now you feel worse than before, and your brain, still searching for relief, whispers the same solution again. Buy something. Feel better. That loop has a shape neuroscience recognizes well. It's the same reward and crash cycle that drives many compulsive behaviors. You're not addicted to the stuff. You're caught in a feeling you keep trying to outrun. There's another layer worth naming. Modern spending is engineered to exploit exactly this moment. One-tap checkout, saved cards, notifications that arrive right when you're tired and low. The pain of paying, that small ache you'd normally feel handing over cash, gets erased by a screen and a tap. So the one natural break that might slow a sad purchase is smoothed away by design. Your vulnerable brain meets a system built to convert feelings into transactions. So now picture yourself on that heavy evening again. The sadness drops your reward chemicals. Your brain, desperate to lift them, points you toward the fastest available spike. Your weakened prefrontal cortex can't hold the line. The tap is frictionless. The dopamine rises. The sadness dips. And a purchase you never needed is already on its way. Every step of that chain is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. None of it is a moral failure. So, what do you actually do with this? You start by naming the feeling before you name the purchase. The next time the urge to buy rises out of nowhere, pause and ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Just labeling the emotion, sadness, loneliness, exhaustion, engages your prefrontal cortex and takes power back from the reward system. Neuroscience shows that simply putting a feeling into words can calm the emotional brain. The urge to spend often shrinks the moment you see what's underneath it. Then you add friction back on purpose. You log out of the shopping apps. You remove the saved cards. You create a small delay between the feeling and the buy, because dopamine-driven urges fade fast when you don't act on them instantly. And you give your brain a different way to lift its chemicals, one that doesn't cost money. A walk. A call to someone who knows you. Movement. Connection. Rest. These raise the same steadying chemicals that sadness drained, without the crash and without the guilt. Because here is the truth neuroscience leaves you with. You don't spend when you're sad because you're careless with money. You spend because your brain is trying to care for you, using the only fast tool it thinks it has. The sadness was never really about the things you almost bought. It was a signal asking to be felt, not filled. You had a hard day. Nothing catastrophic, just heavy. And now, when your brain reaches for that old painkiller, you'll know exactly what it's doing, and you'll finally be able to reach for something real instead.